So I hired 2 people this week.
Really? That's a big deal.
And they're not just like entry-level hires. They're big hires for me.
What kind of roles are they?
So the first one was a sales role. So my first dedicated salesperson for helping me sell the franchises, the Ferncrest franchise business, as well as the glamping equipment and then consulting contracts. So basically full funnel management, working really closely with me. I'm not stepping out of sales, but right now our pipeline is just bursting with leads. So I felt really pressured to get a salesperson to help with that. And then the second hire is an operations hire that is responsible for everything after the sale. So basically delivering on our promises, making sure that we open up the franchise, supporting them along the way, as well as helping us make sure we deliver all the products that we've sold. So that's like a really key operational role that is also a little bit more higher level than it even sounds.
I mean, hiring 2 people at one time, it's a significant kind of shift and move for you guys, because I know you have a little bit
very
of a team,
conservative,
but you've been conservative. It's been lean. I mean, it's been primarily you and Joanna for a long time. And then now the addition, I know you have a few people, but like, what does the rest of the team structure look like?
So we have me and Joanna, and then we have the people that are actually at the properties. And then we have a small customer service team overseas in the Philippines. So it's really small. And then a social media person, which is working closely with me on all the content that we put out. So that's the team.
Yeah. So, I mean, to hire into two like business focused development operations roles, that's a big jump in core team size. I want to know more about what was the trigger point? How do you know when it's the right time to hire?
For me, it was really understanding that this business is no longer just supporting our individual properties, because if we wanted it to just support the Rex and Ferncrest and also Society Hill Hotel, the team should stay lean, because there's only so much revenue that we can get out of the individual properties. There is a cap on how big the company can be. So for me, the decision on hiring is really about ROI, and it's about the growth. And because the business is no longer about just those properties, it's about all the other activities that are happening. I'm starting to bolster a team to really chase that opportunity into 2025 in a big way, because 2024 was a major proof of concept year. We sold $1 million in glamping equipment, sold a franchise, have several other franchises right on the precipice of taking that next step to actually open up a Ferncrest next year. And I know deep down in my soul that this is the window of opportunity. 2025 is the year that we put pedal to the metal. We've been working on this for a few years now, being in the hospitality business. If we don't take advantage of all the interest that we have, the leads that are coming in daily. I have several franchise lead forms on our Ferncrest franchise website coming in every day. And I have I schedule calls for myself all the time, and I have calls with these people, but I'm not doing it justice when it comes to working them through the pipeline to get them to the actual desired result, which is buying something from me. And that's because I'm doing a million other things. So I want to stay involved in sales, because that's really my core competency. I can get on the phone with people like me. I can get them to buy things, but I need somebody to help manage that entire process and only think about that every day. So that's why the sales role, and then the operational role does feel premature, and it does almost feel like the way that we used to hire for United by Blue, which was build it for scale. And then that was the argument, right? With hiring with United by Blue. Oftentimes 100%. It was like, we're going to hire this person because we're scaling, which is really bad, by the way. And we built roles and structures at United by Blue that were never needed fully, because we essentially hired those people for growth that never came. So I'm very, very conscious of that. But I feel compelled about the operational role, because this is somebody that's experienced in some areas of hospitality. She's experienced in some operational management, and she just is smart. And I think that right now, with 3 kids, with Joanna and I both having those kids together and then also having a business together, it's impossible for us to really focus on operations the way that we could if we were just business partners, right? Because when there's a kid thing, it's really both of us, or it's at least her, and then it just the ability for us to actually get the output from both of us together is starting to show limitations. And so we need to bolster a team around us so that those deficiencies are filled, and we're not letting opportunities like franchise lead forms not being like sold to, but then also not being serviced once we get them signed up. The first franchise, by the way, we opened, we are very fortunate that they are such amazing people and that they were very patient and very fluid the way that it worked together. But I know that in the future, that way of opening a franchise is not the way that it's going to be. So that's the operational rose focus.
Interesting. Yeah. So how did you find these people?
Great question. So the salesperson was a connection. So I reached out to our boy, Dave, and Dave worked for us for 7 or 8 years.
I'm surprised you got him out of the ocean to talk to you.
Yeah, I know. The guy, he's a true lover of life.
Yep.
And I love him for that. So I tried to get Dave. He's a great sales guy, super charismatic, funny as hell. And I pinged him. We had a great catch up, and I said, by the way, you want to come over here and work? And he took it seriously. He thought it over. I think he's at a different stage in his life right now where he doesn't want to initially like take on another role because he has something and he has a kid now. He's thinking about another. So God bless him. We had a great conversation, but he said, I think I got somebody for you. And he introduced me to somebody that he'd worked with recently.
That's awesome.
And that's how that happened.
So did you have a job posted?
I never posted that job.
You never posted the sales job.
See, and it's sort of silly that I didn't post any of these jobs, by the way. So neither of these jobs were posted. And this is maybe a deficiency on my end still, but like, I think that the best way to find people is people that are either in a connection already in a network, or they are people that really genuinely want to work for you because they admire you and they like what you're building. And when I post jobs, 9 out of 10 people, 9.9 out of 10 people are learning about the business for the first time. They're looking for a job. They need a job, and they will kiss your ass and say anything you want to get that job. But that's not the type of person I want. Like, I don't want somebody that just learned about what we're building that hasn't followed us on social media and things like that. Now, I don't think the salesperson had that depth of info, but it was a connection that I trust. And I think that goes a long way. And he has sales experience in the format of sales that I want to do, which is like literally nose to the ground, pit bull, just dialing for dollars, being on the phone, getting people educated, and not feeling burned out by being on Zoom for 8 hours a day.
Yep.
Like, that's what I need. And then the operational role, that person came through a DM on Instagram. And I had a post go viral recently. My first viral post in a while.
For what? Which one?
You didn't know?
I didn't know.
I'm like, I'm big right now on IG and Facebook. All right. So I had a post on Instagram go 1.6 million.
That's huge.
Yep. 5,000 new followers from that.
That's the biggest for a long time.
For a while. That's honestly the last month or so, we've done much better on the Finding Promised Land Instagram than the entirety of the year. We were in a bit of a dry spell, and started to reframe the focus and started talking more about the business. Had some interviews with people that went to, on Instagram, 6, 7, 800,000. That got the wheels, the algorithm clicking in our favor. And then I had a business post about how 1 acre of land with 6 tents can generate $200,000 in revenue, with some asterisks and caveats about like if you were open year round and everything like that. And that went to 1.6 million, not only on Instagram, but then 1 million on Facebook.
That's insane.
So 2.6 million. And Facebook got 20,000, 30,000 new followers from that. And then Instagram got about 5,000 new followers from it. So this person reached out around that time. She has followed us for a year.
Okay.
So she is not a newbie. And she introduced herself through a DM, said she had worked at a fund that was focused on hospitality. So she had some institutional fund experience, which I thought was really interesting as we think about like the future for our capital needs and things like that. But then also the first phone call that I had with her, she just struck me as somebody really smart. I got on the phone because of that DM. And then I had a conversation with her and honestly didn't have a role actually formatted. But by the end of my second conversation with her, I was like, and then I had Joanna had a conversation with her and said, yeah, she's obviously smart. And she has,
which is the hardest interview you'll ever do, by the way, with Joanna Linton.
Oh yeah. You don't mess around with that.
No.
Like she is ruthless when it comes to like, if she doesn't like you, it's not happening.
Correct.
So yeah. So that was actually,
she passed that test.
She passed that test. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if she passes the first like couple months with Joanna Linton, that's another thing. But like,
yeah, exactly. Good luck to her. But so tell me more though, in terms of what you have learned from the hiring process. I mean, because this is very different than how we handled things, you know, at any phase of the game with United by Blue, because we ended up with an HR team and a lot of structure, job posts, and a lot of outbound marketing, the qualifications that we were looking for. And
we had a DEI team too.
We did. Looking at,
I don't want to get us canceled though. So
looking at the differences between, you know, skills and experience versus personality. Like, what is your personal perspective on skills or experience versus personality? Culture fit, if you will.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I value experience and competence over personality. And I think that is maybe a little bit counterintuitive to what a lot of people say. And I think in the United by Blue days, it was always like hire for, what was the saying? It was like something like, there's a saying there. We'll have to figure that out. But like basically hiring for personality and training them into the competence, some form of saying around that. And I think that was the easy way of saying that we just wanted to get less experienced, cheaper people. And I think that really set us up for failure in a lot of ways. It's not that we weren't paying market for retail jobs, but we definitely weren't looking for the high performers in the form of like, this person has amazing experience or this person is just genuinely smart. And so now I really value the idea that I'd rather get people that are incredibly thoughtful and smart and I can trust and delegate and just like, especially now that we're not in a single office. Culture is important, don't get me wrong. But right now, at least, my intention is to continue to build it remote, which is a whole nother conversation because I don't actually like that.
Well, I'm doing the complete opposite with Ferncrest.
Exactly. And I value what you're doing.
Yeah.
Elon Musk style, saying that they all got to come back to the office. And I think that is amazing. I'm not at a juncture right now where my team is big enough to justify that. I almost just need to be in an office by myself because right now at home office, it doesn't really work. And there's just the fact that I have 3 kids and I can tell you with certainty that my productivity is impacted by a home office makes it so obvious that the productivity of this nation or this world is impacted by people working at home. Like, period. Like if you were working at home with 4 kids,
I can't.
Like I
did it for 1 month. I did it for 1 month during COVID.
Yeah.
And I had to.
Yeah.
I had to escape.
Yeah, you had to escape. And so I've been doing it now for many years. And it's gotten worse since we moved because my home office is right at the front of the house and kids come home from school early. It's a shit show. Anyways, long story short is right now I'm hiring for competence over personality, to answer your question. And that's because I am really determined to just delegate and make sure that we're taking every opportunity of this amazing opportunity that is on our plate, which is we have a concept that people want. I've never felt like there's so much opportunity coming through my inbox every single day. And it's just execution at this point. I don't need a kumbaya right now.
Yep.
I need to work. That's my mentality.
I like it. It's interesting. It is a very different flip in perspective in some ways, but I think it's smart. And it actually reminds me, I was reading recently email exchange from Elon and Sam Altman
Oh,
early on with the
OpenAI days.
concept of OpenAI, pre even OpenAI starting. It was like, I think one of their first email exchanges that peaked, where Sam got Elon's attention. And they started, you see them going back and forth. And once Elon's bought in, he eventually says, well, we're going to have to pay the top talent. We're going to have to find the top talent and pay them whatever it takes, because
And they do.
he knew that DeepMind was happening at the same time and was way ahead, and OpenAI was going to have to play catch up. And in order to do so, he knew they had great people. They needed even better people. And it was going to be essentially open checkbook. And I think that that's such an interesting concept, because I've always been, and again,
I hear they pay like $500,000-$600,000 at OpenAI.
Oh yeah,
like insane base salaries.
Yeah. And I think that that is one of the things that, just from experience, I've been gun shy about making the hires that you're making right now, because we've gone through that. I mean, at its peak, United by Blue, we had 100 employees across the office to our stores to our warehouse. I mean, it was a big company.
Our payroll, even though it was 100 people, obviously that a lot of them were hourly employees in those roles, but our payroll was over $120,000 every 2 weeks. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's insane. And that gets scary. You know what I mean? I think
it was really scary.
And you get a little bit.
Making payroll was definitely a scary moment.
Exactly. And I think that that's always been, since that moment, of the United by Blue learn of team and how we built that team, because we had some incredible people, and I still have some great friends.
We did have
from the United by Blue team, but we hired some of those people too early, before the business was ready for it. That's why I was asking you, like, how do you know now's right? But it sounds like there is reason. You have real business opportunity that, first of all, it sounds like needs to be captured with the sales role, and then the operational challenges. If you don't, my argument would be that if those sales aren't supported properly and you don't have the operational support behind it, you just lose out on all of the future opportunity from those newly acquired customers. So I think, but
I did actually, when I hired this operational role, because it wasn't even I literally built a job description for this person, which is both a good thing, a good sign and a bad sign. And I told this person on the phone literally yesterday, as I was giving her the offer, I said, this might be a mistake and it's premature to our needs. And I actually think that my confidence level in actually level setting with people is much different than it was in United by Blue days when I was younger, because like I genuinely want her to know that A, I'm going out on a ledge here, and B, this may not work out. Like there's a chance that we don't land franchises going into 2020. What year am I living in? 2025.
Yep.
And I want her to be very explicitly clear that I'm bringing you in to deliver results, and we need to work hard on actually making sure that there's opportunities for this role to work on. So it is premature, and I recognize that. At least I recognize that, and I'm very vocal about it, both in terms of to her as well as to Joanna and other people, that I would rather get this person now so that she can really be on the ground running as these opportunities come through. Because you're right, if we land franchises and we don't deliver, this whole business doesn't work. My entire business is predicated on franchises being happy and successful, because it's an amazing industry to be in. But if you have unhappy franchises, there's no business. There's no business.
There's no future business.
There's no future
You can
business.
sell as much as you want, but if you can't service them, then
exactly,
they're not going to produce. So there's smart hires. I guess, how do you, from a structure perspective, how do you guys approach management? Because I mean, we just talked a little bit about work from home versus in office, but how do you like to manage, and what is management success from your experience?
So I'm not a good manager. Like I actually recognize that I'm not a good manager. I I do think that I'm a good leader and people get inspired and want to work on what
you're a vision guy.
I point them towards.
Yep.
I can point somebody towards something and I can have them toil for years at my vision. But I think the day-to-day management is where I'm lacking. That's where Joanna's actually really good. And that's where, as we think about our family and how we want to balance our family with our work life, because we both work on the same family and the same business, she will be able to really utilize these roles to help manage them on more of a structured day-to-day basis, helping them monitor and hit goals. That's where she really thrives. Where I really thrive is going to be like, all right, sales guy, like, here's the list of leads. Let's comb through it together. Bring me in to help you close deals where we can, and like let's freaking go. And so I think I'm more of the like rile them up and get them excited, and then Joanna's like, okay, here's actually like the management.
Been great at spotting the future and spotting the opportunities, which is, I think that, is one of the superpowers. So I think it's interesting because I think that's, again, a lesson of early days in business, is that the thought process is that as a leader, you also have to be a manager, and that you have to have this
right
team and organizational structure under you. And I think that the kind of historic concept of an org structure is fundamentally flawed. And you're putting people oftentimes in positions where they are not able to do their highest and best work in those roles if you want them to subscribe to some preset notion of what you learned in business school of what an org chart should look like, who's reporting to who's checking in with who, the frequency, all of those things. Those things are necessary for certain employees to give them structure and put them on a path. But when you're building a startup,
none of that matters unless you have
matters.
A vision and a real North Star for what the leader is drumming the beat for and pushing everybody towards. And yes, that means that the leader may not be checking in about their sick days and their tracking their goals and like checking off on a weekly list. I hate those weekly meetings that I was doing for years and years. Like having structure around like I want to know the big things. I want to know that we're landing deals, we're monetizing. I want to understand the things that my core competency is in, which is like generating interest, leads. But all the other stuff in between that is really pointless for me to be involved in. And it's just me, again, back to what you just said, looking at what traditional business should be and saying, oh, a CEO, a leader is also a manager, but it's far from it. Back to, I think we talked about Elon already, which I feel like everybody always talks about Elon, but do you think he's like going through the minutia of everybody's roles? No, like he's definitely, he knows what's going on, just like I know what's going on, and I know what I want to accomplish, but I guarantee you he's not a good manager. I bet you he's probably a pretty abrasive like manager if he gets into the minutia of things.
Without a doubt. And I think that that's one of the things I feel like I've heard more and more of and read more about Elon's quote unquote management style or structure. And even I'm blanking on his name, the leader, CEO of NVIDIA as well, where the two of them have zero hierarchy when it comes to how they organize their teams and how they interact with their teams. They're not going through a second in command to get to the third in command, to get to the person. They
just go to that person.
They are going to the person. Elon's sitting with the engineers. He's sitting on the factory floor. And the same thing with NVIDIA. He's going directly to the teams that are working on the projects that he knows, because they're both the visions, again, behind the business, that when you can see what the future is and where the opportunity is, you need to work with the people that can build it for you, not the people that are going to manage the people that are going to build it.
Do you remember getting crap for going directly to people sometimes?
All the time.
Like going to at United by Blue, we would have, I don't know, we had 5 or 6 levels probably, maybe not quite, maybe 3 or 4. And if we as leaders of the company would go and circumvent, or really actually not even us, it would be like other people would be like complaining about, hey, this person needs to come through me. It's like, guys, what is needed to get the work done?
Yep.
And I think that the immaturity of a lot of the American workforce and maybe workforce in general really stands by this idea of hierarchy
too. It's, like people feel
it's total
like
ego and power. That's what
they're
want.
left out of the conversation. And that's, I try to always encourage my team too, is that I will bring you everything that I need of you. And if I'm not talking to you, it's because I'm trying to do you a favor. If I don't need your involvement, then I'm not going to bring you into something that's going to take you away from what is important for you to be doing in your role.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really interesting way to approach this. I mean, when do you bring these people on? How soon do they start?
So
one?
The salesperson, I start next Monday.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I want to hit the ground running. There's so many leads right now. I know that sounds like so crazy, but like all the organic leads, we have the 600,000 plus. So across Facebook and Instagram, Finding Promised Land has 600,000 followers. The shift that happened in the last couple months with us focusing more on the business side has really started to pay dividends when it comes to people really understanding that they can work with us and that we're not just like this renovation couple that's building these like hospitality businesses. It's like, no, the value proposition of us is becoming more and more clear, and that's resulting in lead flow. And that's without spending any dollars on advertising. When I do spend money on ads, like when I do the Dome 10 event, where I drive people to a landing page to like learn about a specific sales event, I can fill up my calendar. I did over 90 phone calls in a 2-week period for the Dome 10 event. Now, was that because that was the best time for sales? No, it was like the week before the election. It was a horrible time. And probably half of that was driven by paid ads and half of that wasn't. And so if we have that type of ability to book a calendar, why would I wait 3-4 months to do that again? So I have to really start to figure out a system to fill that guy's calendar so that we're basically selling
And if I know you, which I do, it's after that first call and getting somebody on the hook, you need somebody that's going to nurture that person and take them to the close.
Correct.
And that can be 3 or 4 more calls. And that's going to be paperwork and back and forth.
CRM, which we don't have. I have literally a Google Sheet, and not even a Google Sheet, to be honest. The Google Sheet is how I take the orders. My lead flow is email, and I have no organization. I'm not proud to say that, but I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people that haven't transacted because I haven't followed up.
Yep.
So there's probably $3, $4, $5 million of just money sitting in my inbox from social media that needs to be capitalized on. So this person is going to be able to hit the ground running. And then the other role is going to start after the New Year's. I really firmly believe that this business is a business of chasing dreams, and people have this dream of opening up a campground. And what is January all about? January is goals and dream chasing, and it's changing your life. It's going to the gym.
I love that.
And so I think that my big campaign that I'm working on now is to hit the ground running in January with, this is your moment. This is the moment to chase your dream and open up your dream business and change your life. And so that's where, again, my focus is on content, on getting everybody excited, both internally at the company, but also externally, the lead flow coming in. They really are they need to be inspired. They need to be sold before they even have a conversation with my sales guy.
Yep.
And so yeah, we're gonna have a great 2025. This is the first 2 hires is just the start. I think that this organization, I don't want to bloat it. I don't want to get too big.
Let's say keep it lean. Keep it lean.
I will keep it lean, but it is a big shift from the last few years. You know, we've made good money in the last few years, but we didn't really build.
Interesting.
We weren't building a business. It was lifestyle business. You know, lifestyle business that allows us to live a good life is great. And a lot of people, we have friends, we know people that like that.
Yep.
A lot of people aspire for that. That's not me.
Yeah.
Like I'm so hungry right now for a big win because partially because of United by Blue. It still motivates me every day. Like this idea that, you know, we were building a business that just didn't get to where I wanted it to be. And it was largely because of lack of experience. I've learned from that. This is going to be the $100+ million business that I think United by Blue could have been. And I think that these 2 first hires are part of that process.
That's awesome. Well, congrats, dude.
Thanks, man.
That's the pod.
All right.